Okay, I just spent too long trying to record a video for this, and I decided the video is way too long, so I'm doing a second go at it, making it way shorter. Okay, so this is a tutorial, a really brief overview of how I accomplished, or how I came up with a an advanced IK foot setup that does toe-splay, right? It uses the toes as well as instead of just a single pivot point for everything, right? So I've been skinning this, or I've been rigging the skeleton, and obviously all of these toes have a very distinct pivot point, and so the normal way of doing IK foot stuff is you have a single joint, and then you can have everything rotate using that single joint, but that obviously doesn't work when they have all very different pivot points, and you have to respect those pivot points because of kind of how the model is, right? So I ended up coming up with this system that looks like this, right? So all of the toes stay on the ground plane. They stay level with the ground plane as best they can. Here's how it looks from another angle. And you end up getting a lot more advanced and organic movement in the toes. You get this sort of toe splay that you actually see with people's real toes when you go up on your toes in real life, right? So this is much more similar to the natural behavior of how people's toes move as you go up, right? And it has all of the same things that a regular IK foot setup would have, right? I have that where I can make all the toes go up. I can, do this. I can do that, right? So I have all of the regular functionalities of foot IK stuff, and when I want to switch to FK, I can switch back, right? So, and not only that, but when I'm doing the IK toes, I actually have full IK functionality throughout the toes instead of FK, right? So if I move these controls all up, then now the toes are curled, and I can, in addition to curling the toes, I can go up on the ball of his foot, and the toes stay curled, right? While staying on the ground plane. So that's a really quick, what this looks like, and now I'm gonna go into a quick overview of how I did it. This isn't going to be a step-by-step tutorial. This is just an explanation of the fundamental idea behind the system. I don't think it's too hard to implement, but if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and I would be very happy to give you a more in-depth explanation for anybody who personally wants one. So, first of all, there is a basic foot IK setup, right? So there's your ankle joint down here, and it points down towards the ball joint, right? And then the ball joint, you can have, an end joint, but that's not actually necessary. It's just a visual thing. So anyways, well, actually, that is necessary if you're using just a single thing, because you need a single chain solver for that. But on a similar note, basically how this is accomplished is each pair of these joints has a single chain IK solver, right? So if you go to skeleton and create IK handle, by default it's on rotate plane solver, but you go to single chain solver so that you can do just a single pair of joints, right? And you select, this one, then this one, and it creates an IK handle there. Then this one, it creates an IK handle there. Then this one, and it creates an IK handle there. And then what I've done is I've taken these IK handles and I've put them in groups. And then I've taken those groups and I've basically, because they start here, I push them down through this axis just a little bit farther than where the actual joint is, right? And I push them out towards this way. And the reason why I do that is because basically how the system works is you have your regular foot IK set up, but you have controls, IK controls, that have these IK handles as their children, and these IK controls slash IK handles have a parent constraint to this ball joint here. And so when I bring the foot up on the ball, it keeps all of these IK handles in the same place, and all of these joints want to point towards the IK handles, right? And so that keeps them all flat along the ground plane, right? And you end up getting this really nice splayed toes type of thing. All the different joints kind of do their own little movement, and it keeps it all looking nice. Now, the reason why you bring the IK handles out farther than the joints a little bit is because when you move it forward like this, you'll notice all of these joints, especially on this side of the foot, kind of get pushed forwards, right? They're starting all the way back here, and they get pushed forwards all the way to there, right? If you look at the big toe, it hardly has any movement like that, but as you get more to the outside of the foot, because these are shorter and higher up as you rotate up, they end up getting pushed forward. So the reason why you have to bring out the IK handles a little bit from where their joint actually is because if this is going up like this and these joints are going forward, then if this IK handle was still back here, then the toe would start pointing downwards instead of towards the ground, right? And it would start kind of going down into the ground, and it would get things messed up. You can actually see this as you really start to go forward, right? Farther than you would actually want to bend the foot. You can start to see this kind of behavior happening because now this IK handle is behind the point at which you would actually want it to be, and so this ends up going down below the ground plane, right? So basically, you just take the IK handles, put them in a group, and move that group a little bit forwards from where the actual joint would be. And so, yeah, then that's the basics of it. Then you can take all of this and you create an FK joint chain for the toes, an IK joint chain for the toes, and an RK joint chain for the toes, and then you set it all up in an RK system. It sounds like a lot more work, but I actually have written myself a script for setting up the IKFK system, and it actually works just fine for this system as well. So when I set up this leg, after I finished doing this IK foot stuff, I just selected all of the RK joints in the leg and in the foot, and then I put in some, then I selected which control I wanted to have the attribute for, and then I select this other stuff, and then I run the system, and then it creates the RK system for me, and now everything works together, right? So yeah, that's a basic overview of how it works. I think it works really well, and I think it looks really good, and it gives a new functionality to the animators that they wouldn't otherwise have with just a regular system, right? And it keeps things looking very natural with very little effort that actually has to be put in by the animators when they're animating. So yeah, anyways, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.